Hey, this is Melissa with Love Notes from God. How you doing? Hey, I just couldn't resist. I just got back from a church activity and it just looks so pretty out here. So I thought I would shoot a video. This over by some people from church. This is over by next to their property. Got some green onions growing out here. And then I'm just lucky to live out in this country type of area. And the awesome sunset, and that sun is so bright. And please put in the comments below if you have noticed how bright the sun is. Anyways, so talking about my second mission, and this is part 2 of it, where I'm a temple worker. The temple's closed during the pandemic, and we're closed for about a year. And that was hard because, as I said in a previous video, please watch part 1. I was really excited. I've always been wanting to be a temple worker. In my case, at the Boise, Idaho temple for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so not getting to work there for a year was really discouraging. But I did a lot of family history work, helping to find relatives that had passed away that we couldn't find connections to them, so we'd be able to do their work. Sorry, see, look at these mountains. Awesome, right? Just very blessed and lucky to live in such an awesome place. Anyways, so working at the temple, I got to get back in there to work about a year after the temple had closed. It reopened, and I just waited and waited, looking at the lists that they would put out, and just waiting for our temple to be open, and just disappointed and sad and discouraged all the time, because it had to get to certain levels of being open for me being so new to be one that knew enough for them to be able to really utilize what I was capable of doing, my knowledge at the time. Working at the temple, when we were doing work for people that have passed away, we're doing our own family names, or they can be names that have been submitted to the temple. And so what's really fun is if you don't have any of your own names to do, then they will give you a list of names that they've been given. And so the opportunity to do names potentially from just anywhere all over the world. So I've had times where it was just 5 names on a list, and I was doing somebody from like China, Korea, France, Germany, Iceland was one of them, just all on one list. And it's amazing for me to be a part of that, having not gotten to actually go out on a traditional mission, because here I am getting to help do missionary work for people in all different years and all different locations of the world. Some of the people, the oldest I did a name for was from like 700, which just blew my mind. And my own family names, the oldest name I've done has been from just the 1800s. But it's just, to me, one of those miracles from God, those nuggets of knowledge that he has for us, that as we do these names too, and we get to know our ancestors, it gives us the strength to be able to go through things that would seem to be even harder to us, because we know real stories of people that have gone through things that were possibly worse. My grandfather, when he joined this church in Australia, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, his whole family, extended family, disowned their family. So that means like no more grandmas and grandpas, no cousins, which was really sad because when he was 16, his mother died from cancer, breast cancer. And so then they moved to the United States to be with his older sister, him and his dad. My grandpa was the youngest. And then I also have a great-grandfather who's from Mexico. And I haven't actually found a record of his story of joining the church as well. But he ended up joining the military and changed his name from Rodriguez, last name from Rodriguez to Roberts, to avoid prejudice. And so he met his wife, and they married, and then he joined the military. And then he was crushed by a team of horses in a wagon, and nobody else was around. And reading the story, he was there for a couple of days, and I found out later that he had died on my grandma's, who was the oldest, her 16th birthday. And I thought, wow, how many times have we sat there and thought about like some things being like super hard and not fair to us? And in her case, it was during the Depression also when her daddy died. But she said that they were blessed actually, because her daddy had just started working for the state not too long before, and they were able to have a refrigerator. And she said a lot of people didn't have a refrigerator, so they actually felt really blessed compared to so many others. And that's saying something, because my grandma, being the oldest, she took care of her younger siblings. I didn't understand. My grandpa, the grandma I've been talking about, her last name was Roundy when she married my grandpa. There's a big story about them, but anyways, I was wondering why. So they moved in with us because my grandfather had a heart attack and a stroke, and he was paralyzed on half of his body. So they moved in with us so that we could also help take care of my mentally disabled uncle. And so all 10 of us all lived together. And my grandma would have a birthday, and all of her siblings would come, and she was the oldest of 8, if I remember correctly. It was either 8 or 7. And they would all come for her birthday, and I was like, well, that's really nice, but gosh, that's a lot of effort for them to go through. And I just thought that, that just seemed kind of strange, but wonderful to me that they would do that. And then when I realized that in order for my grandma's mother to provide for their family, since her husband had died, she had to move from the small town that she was in. I believe it was Mount Pleasant, Utah at the time. She moved over to Salt Lake and took the baby with her. And then my grandma became like mom to all her younger siblings. So again, that just, taught me a lot about my grandma. And that's the great thing with the temple. I'm coming to know about our ancestors is, and knowing God, that Satan would love for us to think that we just can't do a lot of things and to sit there and feel sorry for ourselves. One thing that's great that we learn through scripture is we know what our weaknesses are, because God can help to make them our strengths. And so weaknesses are not a bad thing, because that brings us closer to God. And I know that helped my grandma as she went through her life, and having a disabled son also. She was a very strong person, and able to manage whatever things came her way. because she knew she had God on her side. She knew she was never alone. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to have gotten to know her. And I would love to hear about any relatives that you have or have met, or a search that you are trying to go through to find family. A great show that we enjoy watching on BYU TV is called Relative Race. And it's awesome because there's people on there that are trying to find family, whether because somebody has died or because someone was adopted. And so there's all or part of their family that they don't know. And I would just say that it makes you really realize what blood, and there's a spirit there that happens with family. And that's a lot of the things that Satan and the world would like us to think are unimportant, and that there's no real need or value to families. But especially if you're wondering how important they are, that's a really great show to watch and see how emotional people become when they find a relative and they haven't had any before or known anything, and it's like coming home. And you didn't even know where home was, and you didn't know much about it, but when you're home, you know it. So I would love to hear about if you have a temple near you, or if you have ever been to the temple, or what temples you've been to. Have you ever been a temple worker before, or a family member has? And I know my husband, through his ancestry, has some awesome stories of a grandfather that was a temple worker in I believe the Manti, Utah temple. So after about 2 years of being a temple worker, I knew that it was time for me to stop, because I didn't want to stop. I wanted to just keep going forever, but I just felt and knew that it was time for somebody else to have my spot and take my place. And I had some other things I needed to do. And I started during that time of being a temple worker, and 2 years ago from now, so that was 2022, February 2022, I started working at a big grocery store. And so I referred to that before as my second mission, but now I realize that it was my third mission. And which was really exciting, because I'd been a stay-at-home mom for 17 years, only taking care of other people's children and home babysitting for 15 years. And I had felt valued. That had been a good thing and worked well with our family. But things had turned out to not work as well, and we'd had a house fire, so I stopped with the child care. And with COVID, it just wasn't a feasible situation anymore. So now that I'm not a temple worker anymore, I just do my best to be a very good patron, which means I go and do the names myself in place of other people. And my family is blessed by doing that. I am blessed by doing that, and I really enjoy seeing the people that I worked at the temple with, and it's like a great little family reunion every time I go in there, and I do my best to go every week. And that is part of my next thing with me working at the grocery store. I would say my co-workers make me go to the temple. They make me go every week. And I will put that in the next video about why I've got to go to the temple every week. And my mission at working at a giant chain grocery store, which is a blessing to me. I really wasn't sure about it to begin with because it'd been so long since I'd worked somewhere for somebody else, but it's been, I always tell people that I travel the world, but I don't go anywhere because I meet people from everywhere. And I'll put that in my next video, all the different countries that I have met people from, and their souls just feed me, their spirits just, it feeds my soul and increases the love that I have from my Heavenly Father, because I am able to share that with them, and they share that love and spirit with me. So thanks for watching. Please like, comment, tell me your stories, tell me your experiences, and subscribe, and please share, and I will see you later. Bye.